Within child welfare, I think that there are groups of young people who are more written off than others, who sort of people see as less hopeful and, you know, a worse use of resources and time than other young people. And I take that really personally, because that was definitely me when I was in care. I was a group home kid. I was level 14. I was, you know, had an arrest record by the time I entered care. I had served time on the street. I was on psychotropic medication. I was in special education. You know, when I left foster care, if you had looked at me simply as a case file and, you know, seen what was there on paper, you would have seen this laundry list basically of bad outcomes and a failure. But I think oftentimes what people fail to recognize, and this is what a parent recognizes with their child, is that those very same qualities that may cause ripples in a system and sort of make a young person not quite fit into the model end up being qualities that actually are really assets. I actually got this picture, Carol bought it for me when we were at a foster care conference in Florida, and this was being auctioned off by their foster parent association. And the reason that I loved it was, you know, both the image and then the saying on there that the house of the heart is never full. I feel like that's part of, again, that parenting motto that we were hoping that everybody in child welfare internalizes, that actually when we're talking about young people, that we shouldn't be talking about, you know, placements and whether there's enough beds in there, that in fact in families' hearts there's always room, and that's what every child deserves to feel, is that they are part of somebody's heart, not simply a kid filling a bed in a facility. I think really at the end of the day, what justice for foster youth means is that every young person who's growing up in care feels respected, has the opportunity to weigh in on all of the decisions that are being made that affect every single element of their life. I think it means that we are all diligent, those of us who are lucky enough to, you know, have this be our passion and to actually get to work on it on a day-to-day basis, that we are diligent enough and we treat that role with urgency, and that we're really working on making sure that we are not just sitting in meetings for, you know, 1,000 years talking about what needs to change, but we're actually out there on the ground making things happen, making sure that there are adequate families who are prepared, you know, and willing to parent foster youth, making sure that youth have access to school and to resources, and that, you know, we're challenging systems to think about the caregiving not necessarily in new ways, but in different ways. And so one of the things that I've always felt like is sort of most important that I can bring to the table is that I'm more or less an open book, always have been, and so am willing to talk about anything related, you know, to my experience and how it's affected me. I'm willing to talk about things that actually I wouldn't want other young people necessarily to be put in the position of, you know, talking about, like what it's meant to, you know, not have a family, what it means to not have a family growing up and raising my own kids, you know, what that means long term in terms of the relationships you're able to form with other people, of your own children's, you know, chances or their trajectories. I mean, that's part of what I think I've been able to help people understand, is that the impact that they have on a young person is not actually just an impact on that young person, that it has an intergenerational effect, that it has an effect in communities. And so I guess I continue to see my role as one of keeping people oriented on a path where they don't forget that this is what all of our jobs are about. It's about individual children and individual lives, And that's why their work is important, and that's why their role is critical. And the minute anybody forgets that and loses sight of that, that this is really about individual lives and making a difference and a change, and that anything that anybody does in the system is going to have an impact on an individual, then all is lost. So I sort of see it as I'm the person just sort of continuing to steer the car, like this is the track that we're on. We're not going to allow you to go off over here or over here. I'm going to move you back, you know, to dead center.